ahead. So I welcome all of you once again to this class, Karma Yoga. The second part of this chapter chapter shall be discussed today. And last session we discussed about controlling the mind. The mind was a friend as well as the enemy also of an individual. And especially in devotional service, mind has to be controlled for any kind of yogic system, whether Bhakti Yoga, Karma Yoga, or Gyan Yoga or Ashtanga Yoga, the mind has to be kept under control because mind is wandering like a monkey and it has to be brought back every time it moves away from the point of focus or point of meditation. This was mentioned here in 6.6. Now we will move ahead. This we have done already. Now 6.7 says, for one who has conquered the mind, the super soul is already reached. One who has conquered the mind, has controlled the mind, he can focus on super soul or Paramatma feature of God realization. Or he has attained tranquility. That means his mind is not moving around. To such a man, happiness and distress, heat and cold, honor and dishonor, and are all the same. That means he is in a state of equanimity and he is not affected by dualities of life. A person is said, this is 6.8, a person is said to be established in self-realization and is called a yogi or mystic when he is fully satisfied by virtue of acquired knowledge and realization. So yogi is one person who has got knowledge, that is Gyan. He has attained Gyan and attained Gyan. What is Jnana here? Jnana means that I am not the body, material body, but the super soul, individual soul, and super soul resides in me. And also I am the eternal part and parcel of Supreme Personality of Godhead. So these two, knowledge and realization, when they come into the mind of when a person is devotee is focused on these two things, then he is a state of he is called an yogi, or he is in a state of yoga or union with Lord. Such a person is situated in transcendence, and is transcendence means that he is beyond the material conception of body and also not affected by material senses, and he is self-controlled. He sees everything, whether it is pebbles, stones, or gold, as the same Bhagavad Gita 6.8. Now, can anybody uh, tell when we discussed about a person or a sage who saw the gold and pebble in the same manner, did not discriminate that gold was precious as compared to pebbles or stones? We have discussed this issue earlier. Glories of holy name. We covered one Goswami. What was the name in the past time? The story of Touchstone. Now this is another hit. Anyone? Do you remember the story of a Brahmana from Varanasi who wanted to have money for the marriage of his daughter, but somebody told, go to Vrindavan, ask Sanatan Goswami, and then he will give you the enough money. And he
I
comes.
remember story, but not the name of the Goswami ji.
Okay, okay, Mataji. He is Sanatan Goswami. What he said, when this Brahman reaches Sanatan Goswami, Goswami gives him a pebble stone, the stone. And then it is a touchstone. He tells him, whatever you touch with this stone, turns into gold. So this man was very happy, very, very happy. Now, what happens that he comes and this touchstone was taken out of earth, and where it was just a waste basket. So but he was wondering, this Brahmana, that with such a Goswami who can keep such a touchstone which is turning everything into gold, then he must be having something more precious than it. So he comes back to Sanatan Goswami and asks for, give me something more valuable and precious than touchstone, because it converts everything it is into gold only. So perhaps you have got something more precious as compared to this touchstone. So Sanatan Goswami asks him to throw this stone in the river and come back to him. And then he gives the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. He said this is much more precious than the touchstone which I gave you. Now it is worthless. Touchstone is worthless. So a person, now Sanatan Goswami, he was a perfect yogi, self-realized person, always focused and thinking of Krishna only. So this is given in 6.8. Then a person is considered still further advanced when he regards honest well-wishers, affectionate benefactors, the neutral persons, mediators, the envious friends and enemies, the pious and the sinner, all with an equal mind. And this is the stage of his Uttam Adhikari. In Nectar of Instruction or Updeshamrit, it is mentioned that a person who Uttam Adhikari sees a dog or a hog, a Brahmana, elephant, anyone, he sees he is Samdarshi. He does not, because he does not see the physical form. He sees the super soul present in that person or that entity, and that is how he is called Samdarshi. And he is always above all these dualities. He sees everyone as his friend only, as supreme person, as part and parcel of supreme personality of God only. And what is this picture showing? Anybody just recollect from our past collections? What is this picture showing on the bottom? Why you should not remember Prabhuji's, Mataji's? Maharaja Amrish, you can see, and Durvasa Muni giving a curse to Maharaja Amrish, because that Dwadashi was there and he had to break his fast, and fast has to be broken after Ekadashi. Fast has to be broken at fixed time, and he had come with all his paraphernalia and wanted to be fed. He said, just please wait, I shall be here back. I'm going to river. And then there was a urge to have a drop of water, because he had to break the fast, otherwise the Ekadashi shall be nishfal or without any results. So, and by divine eyes, he could, the Rasamuni could see that he has broken his fast before feeding the guest. So that is how he cursed, and he took out, pulled a hair from his skull, and gave a curse, and a demon appeared, and this. But Amrish Maharaj remained ruffled by any kind of such provocation. He remained unfolded, still folded hands, he was praying to Durvasa Muni. So you can see that such a person is always in a state of equal-mindedness. So this is the picture here. Then we come to 6 enemies of the mind. We know all these enemies. They are always with us, in each of us at all the time of day and night. Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Mad, Matsar. So these 6 enemies, the lust, anger, greed, and envy, illusion, and madness or intoxication. And these are anarthas. You will remember how from Shraddha to Sadhu Sangha to Bhajan Kriya, and after Bhajan Kriya comes the Anarth Nibrati. And these are 6 anarthas which one has to get rid of if one wants to advance in devotional service. So these are 6 enemies of mind. Firstly, you can see now what is our pitiable condition. Our mind is enemy already. And the mind, there are 6 enemies of mind also again. So it is a doubling effect. We are not able to, control our mind because of these factors. Mind is not controlled, so it becomes enemy, and the senses overpower the mind. And what intelligence is not, heard of, and the result is person commits out of ignorance activities which are sinful, and enters into sinful reactions, leading to repeated entry into cycle of birth and death. So one has to control Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Matsarya or envy, and Moha, and as well as Mad or intoxication or madness. They are always with us. So one who is established in self-realization by virtue of knowledge and self-realization, he sees pebbles, stones, and goat as the same or in the same manner. And I cited the example of the pastime of Sanatan Goswami. And when there is more advancement, what happens? he sees honest. That is the state of 6.9 is the state of Uttam Adhikari, which I just example of Amrish Maharaj was given in that time. He sees honest, well-wishers, affectionate, benefactors, the neutral, the mediators, and the envious, friends and enemies, and pious and sinners, all equally. You can see these pictures. For him, there is no enemy. All are friends. All are part and parcel of Lord Krishna. The body consciousness is not there. One that is spiritual awareness of the other person is always visible to such a person, and he is called a Uttam Adhikari. And when Uttam Adhikari has got perfect knowledge of God, he has perfect astha or faith, and he can he sees each and everyone. He has perfect control of mind. There is no sense gratification. Uses senses only in the service of Krishna. And when he has to preach, he has to come down to the level of middle of Madhyam Adhikari, because for him, he considers himself, Uttam Adhikari considers himself to be the lowest, because he considers that everybody is more, higher devotee or a bigger devotee as compared to myself. So he becomes such a humble person that he considers everyone as superior to him in devotional service. And when he has to preach or convince somebody or convert from Madhyam Adhikari into Uttam Adhikari, he has to descend down to the level of Madhyam Adhikari in order to preach also, because preaching is done always to a person who is relatively ignorant. So now this section, the next section which we are going to discuss today is deals with further stages in the practice of yoga. Ashtanga yoga, most of us have already will be remembering from the level 1, that Ashtanga yoga. We know there is Karma Kand, there is Karma yoga, there is Jnana yoga, there is after Jnana yoga, there is Ashtanga yoga, and Jnana yoga is equivalent to Buddhi yoga also, which has some component of bhakti. And then Ashtanga yoga, and after Ashtanga yoga comes the Bhakti yoga. This is the ladder we saw yesterday. Now, and I told you the super elevator was right from Karma Kand rising to the devotional service, which reaches, makes one perfect in life. And Bhakti yoga, we discussed yesterday, was the highest, because can anybody recollect why Bhakti yoga is considered at the top of the ladder and why it is the highest state? Anyone?
Because it is easy to perform.
Yes, Mataji, very nice.
Uh, and it takes one can reach the result in one lifetime only.
Very nice, very nice. One lifetime, very easy, no rules, regulations, many rules, regulations required. And it is brings about highest perfection of life. Highest perfection of life is Krishna Bhakti. That can be attained by when one is doing Karma Kanda, Nishkam Karma Yoga or Ashtanga Yoga. He has to pass so many difficult disciplines all the way to reach to that stage of realization. Even then, he still reaches the Paramatma feature of God realization is available to such a person only. That is, he wants to get merged into this Brahman Jyoti, or his realization is either level to the Brahman Jyoti level or Paramatma feature only. He is not capable of reaching Bhagwan stage, though the objective of all kind of yoga is to reach the Bhagwan stage of God realization. So these three, that is why is this. Now we have seen this Yam, Niyam, Asan, Pranayam, Pratyahar, Dharana, Dhyan, and Samadhi. These are the stages when one can attain the highest perfection in Ashtanga Yoga, right from the Yam. Now, and in the yesterday we also discussed that Yoga Ruruksha stage is the beginning stage of Ashtanga Yoga, and Yoga Rudha X stage is the highest perfection stage of perfectional stage of Ashtanga Yoga. Because in that Yoga Rudha stage, the bodily consciousness is completely gone, the mind is completely controlled, there is self-realization, and also there is no desire for any sense gratification. So that is the perfect stage, Yoga Rut. But before one reaches Yoga Rut stage, The stages of yam, niyam, asana, pranayam, pratyahar, dharana, and dhyana are very, very difficult, especially in this age of Kali Yuga. So in yoga, this stage you can see here, which is the most advanced of the topmost stage, all sense activities are stopped. And in yoga ruksha stage, it is the beginning of the stage. Now there are different kind of yogas. You can see there is this traditional yoga exercise going on. Then there is a pregnancy, yoga for pregnancy. Then yoga for cat. You can see that a cat is performing yoga on this sitting on the chair. Then a person is smiling and focusing his attention on something he's also doing. Then there is a chair yoga. You can see this is a chair dancing yoga. So then you can see this person who is standing upside down, performing a very difficult exercise for prolonged hours of time. Then there is another person who is doing this kind of exercise, but he is all surrounded all around by burning fire. So this is Agni Yoga, and he's walking on yoga itself. This is the same type of yoga. Then you can see a person who has fixed his head and neck inside the ground, and he's doing intense exercise, yoga of yogic exercise. Then there is bear yoga, which is very popular in Europe and other Western countries. So these are various forms of yoga, but are they really close to what Bhagavad Gita word Lord Krishna is telling about yoga? Do you think it
No.
is? It is
No.
it is just physical and material or some kind of luxury or exercise in luxury which is going on here. It is not sincere desire for self-realization. The purpose of yoga is self-realization, control of mind and senses and bodily needs, and also no sense gratification, no desire for fulfilling the needs of senses. So these three objectives are nowhere in these yoga. These yoga are modern concept of yoga, but very, very, very distorted form of yoga. So Ashtanga Yoga, we can see now what disciplines is given here. First it says is Yama. Yama is external disciplines. That means external disciplines, that means that must be done. Do's, the activities they ought to be performed. Niyama is internal discipline, that means activities which should not be done or ought not to be done. They are don'ts. So Yama is do's, Niyama is don'ts, and asana is postural. A certain posture is required for doing Ashtanga Yoga. And what is that posture? Does anybody remember or know that what is that posture?
Posture is the number of asana done for the physically becoming sthira for sitting in meditation or like some meditation means one kind of asana which takes you to the sthiram sukham asanam.
Very nice, Bhakti. Thank you. But this posture is called, Padmasana, that in which the neck is straight, the vertebral column is straight. Person is sitting on a grass of kusha or your deer skin without coming in contact with the ground, and his legs are folded, cross-legged. Arms are stretched, fingers are, the index finger is pointing towards the thumb, and the hands are stretched, both arms are stretched, and his eyes are partially closed, and they are focused on the middle of the forehead, and breathing is controlled. That will come in pranayama, of course, but asana is a posture. So that means for a Ashtanga yogi, a certain posture is required. But is it certain posture required for a bhakti yogi? Does bhakti yogi require this kind of asana?
No, in any kind, any state of posture, the bhakti can be done.
Yes, Mataji. Sitting, walking, even lying. When, of course, sitting is the ideal position, but he can do it standing. This person is dancing, person is preparing food, cleaning the floor of the temple, cleaning the, preparing, dresses of garments for Lord. So asana is not required in. But here it is a strict discipline. Then pranayam means control of the breath. Then pratyahar is withdrawal of senses from external environment to the inside. That is withdrawal of senses from external contact with the or sense objects to inward movement. And the dharana is concentration, and dhyan is, of course, meditation. And finally, samadhi is integration with Supreme Personality of Godhead. There is no bodily consciousness. It is only spiritual consciousness that one gets merged into the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So there is perfect unit. So this is again a graphic representation. And you can see this yogi. He is sitting in a position. Yes, so anybody would like to read these further details of these 8 limbs of Ashtanga Yoga? Anyone?
Prabhuji, what?
Would you like to read the text of these as 8 limbs, the explanation which is given of each limb of Ashtanga Yoga?
Yes,
Yama.
Prabhuji.
Yes,
Yes.
please continue.
The tag 6.10 Yama. He should live alone in a scheduled, secured place and should always carefully control his mind. This is Yama. The Niyama is temperate in his habit of eating, sleeping, working, or recreation. Asana is lay kusha grasa on the ground and then cover it with a deer skin. The seat should neither be too high or too low and should be situated in a sacred place. One should hold one's body, neck, and head erect in a straight line and stare steadily at the tip of the nose. Thus, with an unagitated, subdued mind, dev- uh, devoid of fear, completely free from sex life, one should meditate upon me, pranayama. Practice stopping the movement of the outgoing breath into the incoming and incoming breath into the outgoing, and thus at last remain in trance.
Once. Yes, thank you, Mataji. So in Yama, as I mentioned, that it is do's, activities that have to be done. So live alone in a secluded place. Can we do Yama in our day-to-day life here? We can't do it. And will it be possible to, if we, at all we live in a secluded place, it will not be possible to control our mind. In Niyama, one has to be temperate in habits of eating, sleeping, working, and recreation. Now, this is also required in fact, in Bhakti Yoga. But Bhakti Yoga, these eating is only prasadam. Sleeping is minimum, which is required for bodily activities. And working always, all the senses working in the service of Lord. And there is recreation. When Lord is pleased, the person is devotee is recreated. So this is comparison between the Ashtanga Yoga Niyama and the Niyama if followed in the Bhakti Yoga. And Asana, of course, Kusha grass, then cover it with deer skin, sitting straight, keeping vertebral column straight, neck straight, head straight, eyes partially closed, focused on in between the center of the forehead, arms stretched in this, cross-legged, and you can see the arms and upper limbs are stretched, and the person is sitting in a Chinna Mudra state, and this is called Padmasana stage, or Ardha Padmasana stage also can be. So Padmasana stays, sitting in Padmasana posture or asana is not an easy thing for performing meditative activities for a prolonged period. Then pranayam. Now, pranayam is control of breath. Not only control, but how yogis control it, they reverse the process of breathing, in fact. Incoming becomes outgoing and outgoing becomes incoming. So, and then the advantages, there are two advantages of pranayam. First, the lifespan of such an yogi is increased, and secondly, he becomes in a state of trance. He remains no dualities, no material desires, no hankering for sense entanglement, nothing remains. He is in a state of trance. Then next, after pranayam comes the pratyahar. Yes, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Pratyahara.
Pratyaharam. Cessation
Cessation.
cessation of material existence. Then dharana is disciplines his mental activities and becomes situated in transcendence. Devoid of all material desire, he is said to have attained yoga. Dhyana is as a lamp in a windless place does not waver, so the transcendentalist whose mind is controlled remains always steady in his meditation on the transcendent self. Samadhi is one is never shaken, even in the midst of greatest difficulty. This indeed is actual freedom from all miseries arising from material contact.
Thank you, Mataji. So we can see after having the detailed explanation of all these 8 stages or 8 limbs of Ashtanga Yoga, that grossly diet is very important. Now, if you eat too much of diet, what happens? And in fact, in Nectar of Instruction or Upadesh Amrit, there are described that there are 6 enemies of devotional service. Pure devotional service cannot be performed when there are 6 enemies. Now, what first is atyahar. Atyahar means eating too much. What happens when we eat too much? Anyone other than Chanda Mamaji? Chanda Mataji? Anyone
Yes,
else? What happens if we eat too much?
what happens
If we eat too much,
the letharginess will come and mind will become very dull, and where all the mind will urge to do the things like only desiring and dreaming. The activeness of the mind will go, and
yeah.
also the focus point will also deviate.
So dullness is there, lethargy is there, and there may be disease also. Overeating results into disease. The second enemy of pure devotional service, prayasascha. Prayasascha means too much endeavor. One does, then both things are to be balanced. In fact, so far as diet is concerned, it has to be balanced and only as much as is required for bodily maintenance, and that is in the form of prasadam only. So if Krishna devotee takes prasadam only, he enjoys the prasad, food taken by the Lord and taken by himself as prasad of Lord, not for his own taste satisfaction. So optimum quantity, neither too much nor too less. If it takes too less, the bodily metabolism and functions will be affected. Too much of activities, endeavor for earning more and more money or other kind of sense gratification. Then third is prajalpo. That means prajalpo means talking matters on matters which are mundane in nature, not spiritual matters, not Krishna Katha. And then Niyamagra. Then Niyamagra means too much following of rules or too much ignorance of rules. And then Jan Sanghashya. That means association of non-devotees and too much of greed. These are 6 enemies. Here, so diet is very important. Don't eat too much, don't eat too little. In Ashtanga Yoga, sleep, don't sleep too much, don't sleep too little. And third is regulation in habits of eating, sleeping, recreation, and working. Yoga mitigates all material sufferings. So these are essential stages, and perfectional stage of yoga, as is given an analogy here. As a lamp in windless place does not waver, so the transcendentalist whose mind is controlled remains always steady in his meditation on transcendent self. So a person, a yogi like this, who is seated here, whatever the external climatic conditions may be, temperature, cold or wind or rains, he remains unaffected by those things. And this is a stage of meditative stage in when person is focusing on self-realization. So this stage is attained when person is in dhyana. Now just imagine if we are doing dhyana for a minute, can we do it for a couple of minutes even without our mind slipping away from the main focus of or object of meditation? We can't do it. So the meaning of all this is that Ashtanga Yoga is very, very difficult exercise in this Kali Yuga. And in Kali Yuga, only Nam Sankirtan is the highest yoga which is recommended for each and everybody. And meditation was recommended in which yoga? Pankaj Prabhuji, when was meditation in practice in which yoga? Am I
Meditation
audible?
means dhyana
Yeah,
yoga.
yeah.
Yeah.
When it was recommended in which yoga? There are 4 yogas: Kali Yuga, Dwapar, Treta, and Satyuga. Meditation was recommended.
Which yuga?
Satyuga, yes,
Satyuga. Satyuga.
Satyuga.
Satyuga.
It was recommended in Treta Yuga.
Prabhuji,
Pavan
Satyuga,
Yajna.
Treta Yuga, those people were very, so disciplined, and this kind of practices were there. So meditation, those era, it was possible, and it was practiced. But later on, it
Satyuga is
just for the doing sake, it was like, in scriptures, it is there. But practice, only the theoretically, it is existence is there, but practically it is not possible. And as now, as we know, bhakti yoga is the only way to liberate our soul and to be into the lotus feet of Lord Krishna.
So Satyuga, people had life of 10,000 years, so they could do meditation for hundreds of years. In Treta Yuga, it was sacrifice. In Dwapar Yuga, it was deity worship, and now in Kali Yuga, it is chanting only. That is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. This Maha Mantra is it. So Karma Yoga, we have gone through this ladder. The Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga. So it is at the top is at the top of the ladder is the Bhakti Yoga. So Bhakti Yoga is the topmost yoga out of all these yoga. Yes, anyone else would like to read this shloka? Yes, Richa Jain Mataji. Thereafter, Riya Mataji. Richa Jain Mataji, please. First Richa Jain Mataji, then Riya Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji. Natya Shrattastu yogasti na chekant man shrata na chati swapna shilasya jagrato nev charjuna. There is no possibility of once becoming a yogi. Oh Arjuna, if one eats too much or eats too little, sleeps too much or does not sleep enough.
So one cannot be successful in yoga if extremes of eating or sleeping are practiced, right? So Prabhupada used to sleep only for 2 to 4 hours, 2 hours to 4 hours only. He was eating minimal food, only prasadam. So please read this one also, 6.24.
Engage oneself in the practice of yoga with determination and faith and not be deviated from the path. One should abandon, without exception, all material desires born of mental speculation and thus control all the senses on all sides by the mind. Bhagavad Gita 6.24.
Yes. So Mataji, so the meaning here is, emphasis is again determination and faith. Shraddha. Shraddha is the first. Faith is the first stage of devotional service. If one does not have, and how does faith come? Faith comes by serving the pure devotees and by the mercy of spiritual master. So before Shraddha, we have to have this thing. So one has to be very determined that, no, I have to take up devotional path only. I am not going to indulge myself into material entanglement or sense gratification. So this determination and faith, those are very, very, very basic steps for entering into the spiritual domain or doing devotional service. Yes, this one, Mataji. 6.25.
Step by step, one should become situated in trance by means of intelligence sustained. by full conviction, and thus the mind should be fixed on the self alone and should think of nothing else. Bhagavad Gita 6.25.
Yes. Thank you, Mataji. So we can see. Just a minute. Yeah, this one also.
From wherever the mind wanders, due to its flickering and unsteady nature, one must certainly withdraw it and bring it back under the control of the self. Bhagavad Gita 6.26.
26. Yeah. So this you can see there is the monkey mind. It is always wandering from jumping from one branch to another branch of ideas or thoughts. So what has to be done? Let this monkey be brought back to the mind and soul, and let us one be focused on the object of meditation. So when we are chanting normally, what is the best mode of chanting as recommended by Srila Prabhupada? Just chant that holy name loudly or mantra loudly and hear it, the names or name of being recited by your tongue through your ears. So, but what happens? Mind immediately, for some moments, it will remain focused on listening to the holy names of Lord, but immediately it runs away to some another thought place or another idea. Then, so the practice here is required is that one should have determination, one should have focused approach, and one should bring back the mind which is wandering hither and thither and bring it back to the listening to the holy name. So this is how mind can be controlled. Yes, Riya Mataji, you can now.
Hare Krishna. The yogi whose mind is fixed on me verily attains the highest perfection of transcendental happiness. He is beyond the mode of passion. He realizes his qualitative identity with the Supreme, and thus he is free from all reactions to past deeds. Bhagavad Gita 6.27.
Yes,
Hare
the yogi
Krishna.
whose mind is fixed on me verily attains the highest perfection of transcendental happiness. When one is focused on Krishna only, or his beautiful form, or name, or pastime, anything which you are focused upon during your meditation or during chanting, then you are in a state of blissful. You see Krishna himself before your eyes or before the eyes of your mind, and you are in that stage. You have qualitative identity with Krishna, because at that stage you forget your body consciousness. There is no body consciousness at that time. That time you are almost always thinking of Krishna only, or seeing Krishna's figure, beautiful figure, or Sham Sarup Rupa in your the eyes of your mind. So that when such a vision is achieved, then immediately all past sinful activities, reaction to sinful activities becomes nullified. Yes, this one, Mataji, Riya Mataji.
Thus, the self controlled yogi, constantly engaged in yoga practice, becomes free from all material contamination and achieves the highest stage of perfect happiness in transcendental loving service to the God. Lord, Bhagavad Gita 6.28.
Thank you, Bhaji. So in this stage of stage of trance or samadhi stage, what is happening? Firstly, bodily consciousness is not there. Secondly, mind does not deviate from the object of meditation. Thirdly, there is no desire for any sense gratification, because bodily consciousness is not there, so sense gratification is also not there. And one becomes focused on super soul only. That means he is in a state of self-realization. And when one person is focused on super soul or self-realized state, then he becomes blissful or he is happy. And this blissful is spiritual happiness. It is not material or mundane happiness, which is transitory, which is flickering in nature, which comes and goes. Then one becomes established at this stage in a blissful state. And that is the spiritual happiness. Yes, Mataji, this one.
Sarva bhuta stham admanam sarva bhutani chatmani iksate yoga yuktathma sarvatra samadarshana. A true yogi observes me in all beings and also sees every being in me. Indeed, the self-realized person sees me, the same Supreme Lord, everywhere.
So
Hare Krishna.
this is the state we discussed about Supreme, Uttam Adhikari, or the person who is self-realized, a perfect yogi or a pure devotee. What he sees me in all beings, that he does not see the living entity in his physical form. He sees that he is super soul or Paramatma, and also sees every being in me. And he does not discriminate people by virtue of their birth or by their virtue of being tree or animal or bird or insect or human being. He sees that all are, and this Krishna revealed in the chapter 11 when he showed his universal form, that everything was within him. So this is what he is mentioning here. And person who sees every being in me, indeed, the self-realized person sees me and the same Supreme Lord everywhere. That means the physical variety that we see through our material eyes, that concept is lost, and everybody, uh, such a person sees Lord everywhere in everyone. That is in the form of super soul. So, yeah, this is a very nice verse, and everybody should memorize. Yoma pashyati sarvatra sarvam cha mai pashyati tasya aham na prashyami sacha me na prarashyati. Yes, Mataji, please read this one. Priya Mataji.
Okay. Uh, for one who sees me everywhere and sees everything in me, I am never lost, nor is he ever lost to me. Hare
So
Krishna.
this is such a great, in fact, assurance of Krishna for all of us who are in the path of spiritual meditation, spiritual service to Lord, that I am never lost, nor is he ever lost to me. That means a person who who is in a state of equanimity, is equiposed, he sees super soul in each and every living entity and everyone. For him, Lord is always protective and is always a well-wisher. And nor is he ever lost to me. And Lord assures that I never lose such a person. I always take care of such a person. Yogakshemam Bahamyam. So he always takes care of such a devotee who sees everyone, Lord in everyone and everywhere. So, yeah, 31. Yes, Mataji, please
Okay.
continue. 31 and 32.
Such a yogi who engages in worshipful service of the super soul, knowing that I and the super soul are one, remains always in me in all circumstances. Bhagavad Gita 6.31. He is a perfect yogi who, by comparison to his own self, sees the true equality of all beings in both their happiness and their distress, O Arjuna. Bhagavad Gita 6.32. Hare Krishna.
So this is the attributes of a yogi, that because he sees each one as super soul, he worships each one as super soul, he sees Lord in everybody, and he sees everyone in Lord, and such a person also sees happiness or distress or loss or gain or everything equally. Such a person is established in me. Now, controlling, this is a section which I have to stop now because I have to attend another very important class myself. So we'll stop at this level. Any question, or it is just few minutes earlier than usual? I'll put posting the attendance link. Please fill the attendance form.
This I thought, if we actually, get equiposed and we see Narayana, Lord Krishna in everyone, the super soul in everyone, I think then all the quarrels, all the fights will definitely stop. I mean, in everyone, if we start looking the God, then we'll just go get overwhelmed on everyone, and no arguments will be left. Nothing like that.
Yes,
World will be full of peace and love.
yes, Mataji. But this is a stage which a pure devotee or a yogi at the highest ladder of yoga, like Ashtanga yoga, in a state of samadhi, can be samdarshi. We are in material world, and in fact, we are subject to different kind of actions and reactions. But how we can control our mind, how we can control the 6 enemies of our mind, that is most important from all of us. So
And Prabhuji, though the time differ because all the mind and the ages are different. So suppose I am, so my state of mind, the controlling will become at the certain time, right? So likewise, the individual mind goes in that way. So at a time, it's not possible that every mind will become, in sthita pragya and everybody will be at peace. So it is different due to this different space of time. This the quarrel and all the desire thing and all the equanimous is not possible.
but if we now further verse in 34 it will come. Arjuna says that controlling of mind is very difficult because mind is very chanchal. Chanchala mana Krishna, and that it is very powerful, it is turbulent, it is powerful, and it is so dominating, and it is flickering also. So how can I do? Then Krishna agrees, yes, by detachment and practice, abhyas and tyag. That these are 2 words which have been used by Krishna. We'll come to it in 6.34 and 6.35 when we go through tomorrow. So he says that the mind is really very, very turbulent. It is very difficult. Now, just imagine a person like Arjuna says these words. What to talk of us mundane people who are such muda or such foolish persons? We are always moved by even the smallest situation moves us from the path of stability or equanimity. We'll come to it, Mataji, and the next sections will deal with 3 parts. First will be how to how to control the mind, because mind is very difficult to control, the fate of an unsuccessful yogi, and ultimately, lastly, what is the highest stage of yoga, which Lord Krishna says in last 2 verses in this chapter. We'll come to it. So there is no any addition, correction, or suggestion, or revelation you would like to say, or any question you would ask. Please be quick so that we may end the session. Attendance next is posted in the chat box. Please fill the attendance before leaving, and we can close the session. Okay. So, Hare Krishna devotees, there being no question, I shall end today's class with prayers. Closing prayer. Vanchakalp tarubhyascha kripa sindhuva eva cha patitanam pavnebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Anant Koti Vaishnav ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna Prabhuji and Mataji, and Dandvat Pranam to all of you. And thank you for your association and attending the class today. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare
Dhanwad.
Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Hare Krishna. Tomorrow again we meet at the same time. Thank you.
Yes.